Hello. Voice. Hello, my name is Osman Fire, and welcome to what should be an interesting recording session because, alright, so I finished this a couple of weeks ago, actually. Well, actually, it was last week, I'm pretty sure. I finished this last week, and I recorded an initial reaction video to it, but I was really tired because it was like a Tuesday after work on a Tuesday, and I'm always really tired before my days off. So, it wasn't the best video. Definitely not the best video. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to record my reactions to The Expanse as a series as a whole today and release them, I think in 3 parts-ish. 2 or 3 parts, probably 3. Collectively. So this is going to be the first part. Here I'm going to talk about the plot mostly. It's not going to be the longest or densest video. The densest is probably going to be the character one. Because I'm going to spend another video talking about the characters, and then I'm going to spend a third one just talk about other things like technology, setting, stuff like that. Philosophy too, probably. So we're gonna run through the plot real quick, and I just don't. The thing is, I'm trying to avoid making like super mega long videos, so that's why it's getting all split up because this would easily exceed an hour if I were to talk about everything in the same video. So let's get going. So Leviathan Falls. I will put it right now. It is not my favorite book in the series. That's not a knock against it. It's just that there are definitely better books in the series, which I will talk about in a little bit. But this is a very solid book, and I think it's a very solid conclusion. I very much enjoyed it. I did legitimately think the pacing maybe could have used a little bit of work. It was nothing terrible, but it didn't like have me. But it didn't have me as enthralled as, like, say, Tiamat's Wrath did. You know, the book before this one. You know, I wasn't as enthralled by it. But at the same time, I think it was a very satisfactory conclusion. I think that most of what we see is pretty well set up. I didn't really see much in the way of things kind of just getting thrown in at the last minute as a sort of Deus Ex Machina, you know. Like the vast majority of what happens is basically like a logical extension of things we had already seen before in the series. And I'm very grateful for that. I really liked it. It was really fun. It was a really good read. Not even fun. It wasn't really fun. It was kind of heavy. But the Expanse books have always been kind of heavy. There are lots of fun moments in it, though. Mostly based around characters, which will come in the character video. But as a whole, I actually love The Expanse. I'm not going to say I'm too surprised by that. It didn't seem like something I wasn't going to like, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like it either. When I first started reading it, when I first started reading Leviathan Wakes, right? I wasn't sure if I was actually going to like the series or not, but I really did. I think a lot of that is driven by characters. If the characters weren't so solid and identifiable and relatable, I think that the series doesn't work as well because the plot's not inscrutable, and certainly not for someone who already likes science fiction, but the plot is definitely kind of harder to grasp, I think, if there isn't something grounding it, and the characters are what ground it. So yeah, I kind of want to just go through the series in like short form. Like I'm not going to go in depth or in detail. But I kind of want to just talk about the series as a whole, because I've never talked, of course, about any of the Expanse books. I didn't even start doing book reviews until after I finished reading The Expanse, really. Not that my book reviews are really reviews, or just kind of reactions with some review elements to them. But I want to talk about, like, the broader series for a little bit, because I think that it's worth talking about. So, Book 1, Leviathan Wakes. Easily one of the best books in the series, actually, surprisingly. When it comes to long series, often like you don't find like the very first book being the best. See the Sword of Shannara. Usually the first book is solid enough to get you engaged, but it's not like great, right? But Leviathan Wakes was actually really great. I thought so because this is set like what 400 or 500 years in the future or something, right? It'd be very easy to kind of drop a reader in a way where they are not able to really recognize what they're seeing, right? Because technology is way advanced and everything. That is not the case with The Expanse, of course, because The Expanse is First of all, the Expanse utilizes even though, I think your average reader wouldn't really recognize, utilizes very scientifically grounded concepts of technology. There's no faster than light travel, at least not yet. But there's no faster than light travel. There's no what am I thinking of? There's no magical gravity, artificial gravity being utilized. There's nothing like that exists in this universe. It's all very grounded kind of technology and ideas present in the Expanse. And I think that helps you to connect with it, because okay, so they still float around in space, they're not just sticking to deck plates magically, and then there's and then there's the fact that, say, Detective Miller, he's only a major character in the very first book, but he makes for a very good sort of identifiable character and archetype, right? Because he's a detective, right? And he looks like a detective from and he dresses like a detective from the 1920s, completely out of I don't know what word I'm coming up with here. Not even something you would expect in hundreds of years into the future, And then of course there's all sorts of identifiable locations, we know all these places on Earth that get mentioned, the objects of the solar system are generally speaking identifiable to normal people, People might, you're not gonna know, there's a lot of people who don't know exactly what Ganymede is, but they know the name, right? Stuff like that. But of course, Ganymede's really more of a second book thing. But the idea persists. The books are the Leviathan Lakes and the first the first trilogy really kind of really grounds the story properly, and I think that's very much to its benefit, because we kind of know what we're getting into, and that helps us to get introduced into the new elements, into the idea of the Epstein drives, the idea of, say, thrust gravity. That's not something that really would make sense to someone, to us really, unless we get a more gradual introduction to it, it's very solid, and the plot itself is very solid. It's actually a very not artfully, but a very skillfully done mystery plot, because of course there's the whole proto-molecule, and what's going on? What is this thing? Why is it turning people into vomit zombies? That's that sort of thing. What is this? What is happening? It's all very it creates a sort of low-key tension in the story that really serves it well. But there's also all sorts of other machinations and so forth, trying to trigger a war between Earth and Mars and all that. And it's really good. It's really clever and really good, and I really enjoy it. And I completely ran out of words again. I am really skillful at the English language. You can just professional work here. And of course it leads into Caliban's War, the second book. This is probably my least favorite book in the series. It not that it does anything wrong. I don't like it as much as pretty much all the others. What I do like is that, so the first book is much more meta in a way, in that it's more about the broader conflict. It's more about setting up the broader conflicts and the strangeness that's about to affect the human race, right? That's really what it's about. Whereas Caliban's War takes those ideas, and in the background, of course, you have the proto-molecule and Venus, but that's only mentioned in the prologue and the epilogue, basically. Whereas in this book, the whole Earth-Mars conflict is kind of brought to a head with the conflict on Ganymede, and I can't remember the scientist guy's name who's looking for his daughter. But what it does basically is it takes this broader meta conflict and kind of brings it into sharp relief, in sharp contrast, I guess, with this plot where, again, another mystery. There's a lot of mysteries in this series. But another mystery as to what's going on with these children and everything, and trying, and just the more human factor, getting into the more human aspect of everything that's going on, right? Um, of course, in the middle of this, I didn't even mention the crew really, because it's like because in the broader plot, James Holden and the Rocinante's crew are very much. They're not like background, obviously. Obviously, they're like very important parts of the events that are going on. But they are not like, and like they're key elements of those events. But they are not the story. They are players in the story, but they are not the story. The conflict on the conflict in Leviathan Falls is all about the proto molecule. And so it's about Ganymede in the second one, and I can't remember the company's name. Trying to perform human experiments and all that. That's the broader story. And Holden and his crew really aren't like a critical element in it, but they are not the element in it. It's like the backdrop is really the story itself, and it's the broader human and we're just getting like sort of like the human view of it, like on the ground human view, I guess. But Caliban's word doesn't connect with me as strongly, just because I don't know. As a follow-up to Leviathan Falls, I guess it just doesn't. Or Leviathan Wakes even. It just doesn't feel as solid of a story, I guess is the best way to put it. And then of course there is Abaddon's Gate. It's Abaddon's Gate, right? Book? Yes, Abaddon's Gate. Book number 3. Ooh, this one was a rough one. And when I say a rough one, I mean it's just because of how many catastrophes happen in the middle of the story. From the sabotage caused by Clarissa Mao to the slow zone thing, crippling, half the people in it. All the dangers and everything. It's just, it's a very heavy book, and as always, most of the books also have like a ticking clock at the end, and this book is no exception. And this one is the most intense ticking clock because, because of what could potentially happen, right? And it's just a very heavy book because of that, because like all these people are injured and they're trapped in the ring space, and they just don't know. And it's like how are they getting out of this? Because they're probably going to get out of it, but how? And it turns out with a great deal of difficulty and pain and death. In a lot of ways, it feels like it's like like succeeding in the end and preventing the captain of Behemoth, can't remember his name off the top of my head, from from causing a further catastrophe by trying to destroy the gate, is very. It's a very Pyrrhic victory. It feels like a very Pyrrhic, hollow conclusion to that first trilogy of books. But at the same time, the continuing unraveling in the mystery of the creators of the proto molecule and their space station and everything is just makes the journey worthwhile, and it's very very enjoyable. And then of course after that is Sibling Burn, book number 4. This is also a book that I'm actually not super fond of. I mean, sure, it introduces Elvi and Fayez and all that, but I'm not as fond of this book as I am of most of the others, because it's just, I guess I just don't click with it as well. Again, another one of those ticking clock situations with the alien technology shutting down nuclear fusion. Basically shutting off all sources of power in the system, right? That's like, another ticking clock. People are going to fall out of the sky and everything. Realistically, one of the most overused tropes in the entire series. The whole ticking clock at the end, at the end of the book, or toward, in the middle to the end, something like that. But at the same time, it is cool though to see like an alien world, and to see an alien world that just isn't another version of Earth. An alien world that has different kinds of animals and plants, and the chemical reactions in those creatures are different from what they are on Earth, because you don't ever see that in science fiction. 9 times out of 10, either humans find a new planet and everything is perfectly compatible with humans. There's no, eating alien proteins isn't just going to cause you to vomit it all up, or or you're not going to have a severe reaction to touching a plant because it's some chemical reaction in it causes you to break out in massive fatal hives or something. It's like to see that for the first time, to see, not first time, but to see that is really cool, because it's either that, it's either that that the planet is just perfectly compatible right off the bat, right out of the gate, or the planet has already been tamed by humanity for a very long time, And I mean, that makes sense in sort of television-based sci-fi and movie-based sci-fi, because, well, you can only depict so many alien environments in those things without like a lot of like CGI and really usually just breaking the suspension of disbelief. Whereas in writing, it's much easier to kind of like capture that feeling, because you don't have to worry about visualizing it. You can make the reader visualize it. But overall solid. And of course, it's the last appearance of the Phantom Detective Miller, who I actually, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of neat having that character around for a little while. Because Detective Miller was a good character. And so he like makes for a good, he makes for a good like sort of ghost in the machine for Holden, for 2 books. I thought, so book 5, Nemesis Games. Legitimately my favorite book. I actually like this book the most. It's the first book, of course, where the entire crew is split up for the first time. And I just like following their 4 journeys. I like their motivations for like for breaking up the gang for a little while, because like, well, the Rocinante's in dry dock for a while anyway, so we might as well go off and do our own things for a little bit. I think it's just I think first of all, it's a really good setup, and I think it's a really well executed. I like how they all split up and then they all come back together. You got because this book is also the first time I think that we get to dive into the heads of Naomi, Alex, and Amos. We never gotten a chance to do that before, and so we get a chance to like experience their thought processes, the lines of logic that govern why they do things and so forth. And we get the sense that Amos is this dangerous bruiser, but you get the sense that as a kid he was really really badly hurt, like psychologically, by his upbringing. And that kind of is what turned him into what he is. And I mean, we never get clear answers on how exactly, but we don't need to, because the implications of what Baltimore was like is enough. I think my favorite part of the book, in fact, is Amos's adventure on Earth. Visiting Clarissa, and and then the rocks hit, and it's just chaos after that. I like the post-apocalyptic feel of it. It's really good, really cool, and really neat. And then of course Naomi's background is very dark and kind of sad, and she has to deal with the fact that she once had a child with Marco Inaros, who is literally a psychopath. And then of course Holden's adventure really is the most mundane one out of all of them, but that's fine, because it kind of keeps us tethered to the broader meta story that's going on, in the system. And then of course Alex, Alex trying to see what his ex-wife is up to, very questionable decision. And then, catching up with Bobby and all that. I think it's all very solidly done. It's all very solidly well done. And then of course, book 6, which is Babylon's Ashes, which is a superb. It's not one of my favorites, but it probably is. But it's like third tier. If Nemesis Games is first, this is number 3. But Babylon's Ashes is just a very solid follow-up to the events of Nemesis Games. Because things are, the system is in bad shape, because of course Inaros is an idiot and decided that, trying to destroy the only viable biosphere in the known universe is somehow a good idea. And it just results in a lot of pain, and the desperate attempts to try and fix it is also very and the desperate attempts to try and fix it are just very well done, I guess. Gosh, I don't have a very strong vocabulary today. I don't know why. What I'm saying basically is I really like the book. It's a really good book. I actually don't remember many details from it. Besides how it's resolved and everything, realizing what caused ships to go Dutchman and then using that to trick Inaros into going Dutchman himself is very, very cleverly done. But yeah, it's very, very solid book. And then, of course, we go to, what is it? Persepolis Rising. This book is, again, another one that I liked it, but I wasn't super keen on it. I've never been a big fan of unstoppable juggernauts in any sort of fiction. I've always been more fond of, like, and whether any sort of war or conflict, I've always been fond of, sides that have some sort of parity, even if one is weaker than the other. Like the weaker side can still hurt the big bad. Like say like the Rebel Alliance versus the Empire in Star Wars. There's not really a lot of parity as far as a war is concerned, but as far as the Rebels being able to fight the Empire, yeah, they can do it. And that's I like that sort of thing, and I don't like it when, say, the Borg steamroll the Federation, or trying to think of other instances where, like, an unstoppable juggernaut. Yeah, can't really think of any other examples from me personally. But Laconia is the same way. Laconia is just utterly unstoppable. No matter what they do, no matter what they throw at them, Duarte's forces are literally unstoppable. I'm not really a huge fan of that sort of thing. But at the same time, it does make for a very compelling narrative. And it sets up the hopelessness of the situation of people who just want to be free. It's very, in that regard, it is good. It is good in that regard. It's just that I personally don't necessarily, click with it as well. But it's also nice that they did that little time jump, with 30 years or so, 25, 30 years. So everyone's a bit older now, and, getting, starting to wear out a little bit, and the Rocinante's getting old, and, but humanity's also expanded, it's been a time enough for a whole generation to grow up with the ring gates and 1,300 habitable worlds in other solar systems. And I think that's, I think it's a pretty awesome thing to do, because it helps to establish that, hey, this universe isn't just stagnant. It grows and expands over time. Eventually you're going to have advanced colonies that are capable, that are self-sufficient. I think it's really cool. And then of course that leads to Tiamat's Wrath, where everything kind of goes wrong. And this is my second favorite book in the series. Even though not a super amount really happens in it, if you really think about it, it's not like events are super high octane moving forward, but it's just really well done. It's a series of disparate plots, with Naomi, Alex and Bobby, Teresa, Amos, Holden on Laconia, Elvie and Fayez, that's, you have all these, you have all these various disparate plot lines working together, and I just think it's really awesome, truth be told. I think it's like the same way that Nemesis games was. It just works together really brilliantly, and it makes for a very solid, compelling plot, and you're always kind of you're not really sure what's going to happen next, because none of our heroes are in a strong position, right? So you're kind of always low-key on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to happen next. How are they going to move forward? Are they going to be reunited? Is someone going to die? Who knows? And then Amos gets shot, but then Amos gets rebuilt. And we knew that Amos was going to get rebuilt, and then he comes in at the end, and it's just a really awesome moment at the very end of the book when the crew is reunited. And they have a new tag along now too. And then finally we come to Leviathan Falls. And this book is absolutely a good conclusion to the series. Like I said, I have some issues with it. It's always kind of I'm not angry about it, not say the Fall of Shannara. But it does have some weaknesses, but at the same time, you can always forgive authors for having a little difficulty trying to finish a book series, because it's not always easy. It's not always easy to make a completely satisfactory conclusion to something that you've been building up for years. Something that something that like has become big and expansive. Look at George R.R. Martin. He's never going to finish A Song of Ice and Fire at the rate he's going. I mean, people are starting to really meme on George R.R. Martin for that. But that part of the problem is that he's not actually finishing the series, as far as we can tell. Whereas, the authors, who write under James S.A. Corey, actually finished their series, and they think they did the best work. I think they did the best work they could. Again, they didn't really engage in any sort of like ass pulling where they kind of pulled ideas out of nowhere to try and finish the series. I think everything is fairly well set up, and so anything that's kind of new, like say Duarte trying to turn humanity into a gestalt, or how shall I pronounce that? Consciousness doesn't feel out of bounds with what we know about the proto-molecule, about the gate builders, about Duarte himself. It doesn't feel like it's out of bounds, right? As a plot point. The idea that the creatures from beyond space, really, literally, are just basically experimenting in ways to try and kill humanity, I think is very... they did a good job pacing those moments out, where it's like, okay, things are kind of stabilizing. Oh, no, never mind. People have been shut off for longer and longer and longer. Okay, that entire system was just killed, stuff like that. I think was just really... I think it was all just really splendidly done, in that regard. I think the thing that disappoints me the most is that the ending... We needed a little more of a denouement at the very end, I think. We need a little more... Because the ending is very abrupt. The ending of the story of Leviathan Falls is really abrupt. Because James Holden takes control of the ring station, Duarte's place, and realizes that the only way to stop these aliens is to either turn humanity to a gestalt consciousness, because that's the only thing that will actually give him the power necessary to stop them from entering physical reality, or it's to put an end to it all, to actually destroy the ring space and the rings and everything. Because as long as they're there, the aliens are going to keep trying to destroy them. And I think that's actually a worthy sacrifice. I think it's a very James Holden way to end, to sacrifice himself for the greater good. Because despite all of his many, many mistakes over the course of the series, Jim's heart was always in the right place. His desires were always in the right place. His goals were always in the right place, even if he made mistakes along the way. And to sacrifice himself for the whole of humanity, very messianic in tone, but at the same time, very Jim in tone. And, you kind of see it coming, right? Especially after he injects himself with the proto-molecule to get some control over the ring station, right? But at the same time, it's good. It's very good, very delightful. Way to end the story. But I do wish there was a bit more of an denouement. I wish we had not gone straight from, I wish we hadn't gone straight from, like, the Falcon leaving the ring space, now the rings are gone, straight to the epilogue where the survey ship from one of the surviving systems, returns to Earth. I wish we had gotten a little more between that, where we just see what happens. I want to know what happens after the rings are closed. What happens to the various characters. I want to know, because Admiral Trejo, for example, just kind of completely disappears right after the midpoint of the story. I kind of want to know what happens to Trejo on Laconia and what happens to Laconia. I want to know what happens to Alex what happens to Alex on I can't remember the system's name off the top of my head. I want to see what happens to Teresa. I really want to know what happens to Teresa, because what happens to her is really traumatic and depressing, and how does she cope with that? Does she cope with that? I don't want the denouement necessarily to be depressing either, but I want it to be But I want to know. You know, I just want to know a little bit of how it goes forward from there. You know, not too much, just a little bit to know that like people are making decisions and they're going to move forward with their lives. And I feel like the absence of that element in the story weakens the conclusion. You know, but I do like the epilogue. I do like the idea that 1,000 years later, humanity finally found a way to traverse space, to traverse space without having to use like gates or anything. Not exactly sure how the technology works. I don't really describe that. That's fine. You know, but managed to travel between two systems. I think 3,800 light years. It said in about a month, local time for that ship. And we find out, you know, that the solar system has not had a good time of it. In fact, we find out that it seems as though the vast majority of the human colonies were destroyed. They either probably probably half of them starved out entirely, you know, and the rest probably got destroyed in conflict, you know, because it says there's only 30 worlds. Now I think that maybe that's not 30 worlds in total. I feel like the I can't remember what system it said. I could look at it, but I'm not going to. It sounds like that's you know, the system that the ship came from, the Bridimov. I did look at that just now. It sounds like it's kind of like slowly making its way farther and farther out to explore the various systems and see who survived. And I think we can assume that some of the strongest ones, like Laconia, did survive. You know, but most of them definitely did not. I'm sure, like Freehold, for example, probably died. But we see that Earth did not have a good time of it either. There's clearly some sort of massive conflict in the system at some point, and Earth is much depleted in its population. It's not busy like you would expect an advanced civilization to be. Things like that. I think that's just really, but it's a good way to end it, because it kind of is like, okay, time moves on. Like I was saying, you know, the story moves on. And of course, Amos is still around, because Amos is basically an abomination. to be frank, Amos is an abomination now. So he's still around and functionally the leader of humanity, I guess, is implied. But yeah. So the book series as a whole, though, really good. I wish, again, there was a little more in Leviathan Falls, just to kind of give a little bit more of emotional closure to the story. But on the whole, absolutely loved it from beginning to end. Alright, that's the end of part 1. Thank you for watching. I know, 2 more parts, very daunting for me to record, honestly. I'm not necessarily sure I'm looking forward to, because this is going to be a lot of work, but I'm recording them immediately after this. And then I got live streams to do. Oh boy, I got stuff to do. Anyway, so thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next video. Until next time, everybody.